Welcome back to Living Grounded. You're here with Lila and Tim.
Hi.
And in this new season, we're walking through the highlights of the Bible together, looking at how each part connects to Jesus and how we can apply it to living grounded in Him. This is part 3 of our series, being in Genesis.
Season 3.
Yeah, season 3, episode 3.
Mm.
And today is going to be an exciting chapter.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty dark. According to the internet, there are anything from 56 to 150 armed conflicts going on right now. Wars or little wars. Around 500,000 people were murdered. 10 million died of cancer. And in the last 20 years, dogs have killed about 82 people. It's terrible.
Drastic.
Yeah. And that's what we know of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably the...
I told Ryan about it earlier and he was like, oh, I thought it would have been thousands.
No. But it's pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. But it's this kind of stuff that leads many of us to ask the question, why is the world like it is? On the one hand, so beautiful, enjoyable, so interesting, so fulfilling. And then on the other, it's just so painful, so harsh, so irrational, so scary. And of course, our first episode gave us half of the answer. This world is so good because God made it to be very good. But then why is it also so bad now?
Yeah.
And of course, this is Genesis 3. You might remember Adam, created by God, was given commands. Firstly, to rule over the world, so care for it, not like a despot, but like God cares for things. So working and keeping the garden, guarding God's creation is kind of the picture, which is important for what comes next. So remember that. But then secondly, the command was to be fruitful and multiply, spreading God's glory throughout the world by having babies. And of course, Adam's been given a helper for all of this, Eve, and they're in the garden. The garden is kind of like the home base for this grand operation, this great project. But then in Genesis 3, verse 1, a new character emerges into the story, a crafty serpent. Later on in the Bible, we'll find out that this is actually something called Satan, the adversary of God's people. A fallen angel seems to be the suggestion. A liar, the father of lies. 1 Peter calls him a devouring lion. So his purpose, his desire in the world is to bring the antithesis of God. It's to bring destruction. It's to bring chaos. It is to bring harm rather than good. And here is this serpent speaking to the woman in the garden. Now, there's a first little clue of something. Adam was supposed to be guarding and keeping the garden. Instead, the serpent has been allowed in to begin his seduction. He says to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" He sows doubt regarding God's words. That's not what God said. And Eve actually answers rightly when she says, no, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden. But God did say you must not eat fruit from one tree, the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it or you will die. Next, Satan questions God's truthfulness. You won't die. God knows when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you'll become like God, knowing good and evil. Now, that's a lie. Actually, they'll become like Satan. They will know good and evil. And like Satan, they'll be under God's judgment for disobedience. But as we probably know, Eve was tempted enough to want to find out for herself. She trusted Satan's lie over God's truthful word. And Adam followed suit. Rather than leading his wife into righteousness, Adam follows his wife into disobedience. Their eyes are open and they realize something that they hadn't realized before. They experience shame for the first time, a need to cover themselves. Things are no longer very good. And God comes calling. I think this is a picture of kind of what was intended to happen in the garden. It's God dwelling with his creature, with his humans made in his likeness. It's supposed to be this kind of joyful, wonderful thing. They get to experience God's presence, but instead they're hiding. Why are they hiding? Well, because they're feeling that shame, and now they're feeling fear. What's going to happen? We disobeyed. God confronts them. Adam blames his wife for eating the fruit. Eve blames Satan, and God essentially gives his verdict on it all. Before this moment, God and humans, good. Human and humans, harmony. It's fellowship. It's good relationship. It's healthy. There is no shame. There is no guilt. There is no need to hide. But now, fellowship has been fractured between God and humans and between humans and humans. There is a relational issue. They've betrayed their creator, the one who loved them most. But there's also a kind of legal issue here at play as well. They have broken the command of God, God's law, which is the law of a king, of a sovereign. And for that, whenever you break a law, there are penalties associated. There is a consequence. Now, God's divine judgment starts with the serpent. The serpent is going to eat dust. And I think you can literally see that in snakes crawling on the ground, but that's really just symbolic of what Satan will eventually, what will happen for Satan. He is doomed for the rest of eternity to kind of be eating God's dust in a sense. Eventually, he will lose the war to rule in God's place, and that will be his judgment. But before then, there will be war. There will be enmity between Satan and the woman, between the offspring of Satan and the offspring of the woman. Now, we'll come back to a little bit of that, but for the woman, there are consequences. It's pain related to her primary role, remember, of being fruitful and multiplying. Being a mum is going to be hard now. So is being a wife. Her desire will be for her husband. He will rule, and he will rule over you. I think that's a kind of poetic way of saying there's going to be conflict in the roles of marriage. Then to Adam, there's going to be pain associated with his primary role of keeping and working the land. So there's going to be futility and meaninglessness, struggle and hard toil. All you ever have to do is mow the lawn to feel this, okay? It's going to grow back. It sucks. And there's going to be death.
That's interesting.
Yeah, now that's an interesting one. Because you could be excused for going, hang on a sec. They haven't died. So what was Satan right? God said if they ate the fruit, they would surely die, but they're not dead. But actually, that just begs the question of what did God mean by they would surely die? And it seems like he doesn't mean the lightning strike, but rather the reality of the decay of death. Now, humans will age. They will sicken. They will suffer and experience pain, and eventually they will return to the dust from which they came. So it's not instant death, but now all humans from birth are dying. This is the fall. From everything being very good to everything now decaying. Relationally, spiritually, physically, in humanity and in the world itself. Death and decay. Finally, God banishes Adam and Eve from the garden to a new and scary reality of a fallen world and a fallen people, and a battle between her children and the children of the serpent. Yeah.
That's a big change of the world. How does that point us to Jesus then?
Yeah, I think there's two big moments in Genesis 3 that points to Jesus. It's back there in verse 15 of Genesis 3. I will put enmity between you and the woman and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. What in the world is all that about? Well, like I said, I think it's describing an ongoing battle or war between the offspring of Satan. So don't think literally as such. John the Baptist, he'll say to a bunch of Pharisees during his ministry, he'll call them a brood of vipers.
Whoa.
Yeah, which means literally children of the serpent. Yeah, not a pleasant thing to be called, but the serpent's children are those whose allegiance is to him. to those who essentially call Satan their father. Now, no one actually, probably outside of a few Satanists out there, calls Satan their father, but it's anyone who is against the children of God. It's anyone who, there is no kind of neutral territory. There is no Switzerland here, okay? There is either you are one of Satan's children, or you are one of God's children. You are the offspring of the woman, or you are the offspring of the serpent. The story of the Bible is the war between good and evil, between the serpent's people and God's people. And the promise is that eventually he will crush the serpent's head, even as his heel will be struck. Now, again, poetic language, but this is a taste of the final battle. When the offspring of the woman delivers the final blow to the serpent, even as the serpent strikes a blow against the offspring of the woman.
What does that mean?
Well, I think many commentators, and I would argue as well, that this is actually pointing forward to Jesus. Jesus is the offspring of the woman, only a woman, as it turns out, in quite a fascinating little piece, he is struck by Satan. Think about it. Judas is driven by Satan to bring about the death of the Son of God, of the Son, the offspring of the woman. But at that same time, not literally, but symbolically, as Jesus is struck, he crushes the head of the serpent. On the cross, Jesus makes a way for humans to be saved from God's judgment, to undo the curse, for Satan to be destroyed once and for all, for death to be conquered. Which brings us to our second moment in Genesis 3. After God pronounces his judgments, he actually makes garments of skin for Adam and Eve. He clothes them. He covers you remember they felt shame and guilt at their nakedness. He covers their shame and guilt, is the picture. Now, how do you get garments of skin?
Have to kill an animal.
Yeah, I guess God could just kind of genie them up or whatever, but normally you get garments of skin through the death of an animal. So you see a little glimpse of what's happening here. Through the death of something else, God covers humanity's sin. And I think this too points forward to Jesus. He takes the curse of sin, the consequence of death, onto himself at the cross, so that humans can be rescued from the curse and the consequences of sin. He suffers the judgment of God in our place. He dies so that we can be clothed with his non-sin, with his righteousness, his perfection. And therefore, because we're clothed by him, we actually get the blessings that were promised to the obedient. The curse of sin, the consequence of sin is death, but the promise of God to Adam and Eve was obedience. If you live by my commands, you'll get to eat from the fruit of the tree of life. You'll get to enjoy eternal life. Jesus, he is the obedient son. He is the perfect human, as we saw last week, the image of God. And through him, we get to enjoy the hope of enjoying the restoration of Eden, in a sense. So not the original garden, that's done, that's gone. But when we put our hope in Jesus, he restores us relationally to God. So God dwells with us again, because the thing that fractured that relationship, sin, is dealt with. And so we can enjoy God's presence and begin to enjoy relationship with each other again. So Jesus begins to restore that as well. It's a big piece of the New Testament. And that's to some extent now, but far more fully in what Isaiah calls the new creation. So the new heavens and the new earth. So if you look at Revelation 21 and 22, it's actually like a new garden. A garden city is the picture, where everything is very good again for God's people.
Wow, so fascinating. Just woven
Yeah.
close, right? So how does this help us to living grounded today? Because it's something from the past, pointing to the future.
Yeah. Look, I think Genesis 3 is a reminder that we aren't what our world tells us we are sometimes. In generations past, people knew that there was something dark at the heart of humans. But in our time, that has changed. It's come through philosophy, but it is now translated into common human experience. We think that we're born inherently good. We're told as children not just to do good, but we're told you are good. Genesis 3 reminds us that actually that's not true. And it's important that we see that, because if you think, no, I am good, you'll find it surprising and hard to understand God's judgment. But when you understand that all humans are sinners and rebels against God, it's not that some aren't more sinful than others, okay? It's that before God, every single one of us enters this world with a huge problem, that we're born into rebellion against God. That it's no longer natural for us to look to him as God, to obey him as God. Instead, it's natural for all of us to reject him. None is righteous, not one, says the psalmist. We all need salvation. And seeing that, if you grasp that, you will look for salvation, as opposed to going, I'm already okay because I'm good. We need to hold on to that. The second thing to see is that this is why our world is the way it is. This is why the fall is why your family doesn't love each other like it should. The fall is why your work doesn't always bring you joy. The fall is why childbirth is dangerous and painful. The fall is why there is cancer and war and suicide. The fall is why there is something that we should fear, and that is death. We need to always remember, God didn't make the world the way, he didn't make it that way. We did. It's a result of our sin. It's a result of listening to Satan rather than to God, which is a reminder of what happens when people do that today. When we pursue our own desires, when we listen to Satan in the various ways that might look like, when we don't listen to God, the result will always be bad. It might look pleasurable in the immediate moment. Oh, the fruit looks good. But it will always result in a bad outcome. It will always lead to a form of decay and death.
And I think we've done an episode about how to respond to temptation a few months ago.
Yeah.
Go and look to that.
You can look that up. That leads us to our only hope, of course. Jesus is our only hope. Our world offers many different hopes for our issues in life, solutions for how our world can be a better place, how you can be a better person, how you can teach your kids to be good people, solve the world's problems, and so on. But Jesus is our only true hope. Only Jesus can do what needed to be done. Only he could pay the price for sins, because only he was righteous. And only Jesus can restore the world, because he's actually the God who made it in the first place. Sinners cannot solve the problem that they create. Only the Creator can. Thankfully, in his grace and mercy, he is going to and has in Jesus.
What a great thing. Next week, we're going to look at how the fall played out more in the beginning.
Yeah, we'll chase that through a couple of moments in Genesis to kind of show the effects of the fall and what that's going to look like in the world. Yeah.
Great. Keep putting your hope in Jesus and living grounded. See you next week.
See ya.